Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Tom Jenks and I'll be hosting your webinar today. Before we get started, if you'd like to ask a question at any point during the webinar, you can enter it in the questions control of the webinar control panel. We'll then answer all your questions at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Michael.
Okay, hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar. I will take some time to show you new features in CM4D version 25, our latest release, and the new CM4D upload portal, which is a new, brand new module. Actually, that is available now together with version 25 too. So what will be our agenda? That the core product, the new features, the new Texas 3D Hoops engine. And we will also spend some time on what's next, and of course on your questions too. So the biggest change in version 25 is actually the new 3D engine. As you know, as a CM4D customer, this webinar is specifically for existing customers. Know that our current engine up to version 25 is was a bit aged. Many of you had problems with graphic cards driver updates that broke the functionality, and it was not possible to resolve that with the previous coin engine. So, and actually, Tag Hoops from Texas 3D was already picked a while ago, but now we released the first version that is using the new 3D engine. This engine is under very active development, so Texas 3D planned 5 releases in 2021, and we will incorporate new releases, new functionality also over the year with hotfixes or minor releases, especially the Hoops Exchange brings out support for new CAD formats with every release or update support. For example, for solid files. The Hoops Exchange was already in use in version 24, but only to convert it back to the old VRML format. That was the core format of the coin engine. This Hoops engine gives us the support, the possibility not only to build the full clients, which we have at the moment, but also to build web clients and in the future also mobile clients with a good 3D functionality. So it actually opens up our path into the future. Many of you have asked for point cloud support, the functionality to directly create 3D PDFs. It gives us advanced rendering options. Not all of them are already included now in the version 25 release. So we have that Texas 3D Hoops already included for a couple of years in ATS Inspect, and now quite a lot that engine engine as well. This is by far the biggest change. Together with that change, a new feature marker concept is introduced. So we do have feature-specific feature marker types for X, Y, Z, for surface, for hole, slot, distance, and midpoint. A few feature markers are not included yet: gap, flush, range, plane, and polar. They will come later this year with version 25.1. They are under development, but still need a couple of testing. So this new feature marker concept shows different markers defined depending on defined nominals and limits. So as an example, oh, that's always wrong. That's X, Y, Z, of course. So if no nominal is defined, it's showing a sphere. If X is defined, it will show a disk. XY is defined, it will show these two intersections. And if all three, then you have the feature marker you might have seen already when you had a first look on version 25. The feature markers themselves have defined colors depending on the actual definition of the feature. So good high and low value will be first used on the new web version we are building. CM4D peruse, but neutral, nominal, limits, the four different distance markers, depending on if you have set up your system to measure the 3D distance or a distance as X, Y, or Z, are set here, and they can be also set via the CM4D.ini. So it's possible for you in the classical CM4D way to have an ini file that is either distributed or picked up from a central location, to use these colors, and you can also change them per document. But I will show you a bit later in a few seconds. Then another larger part is that we are now able to manage reports that are needed for the scheduler from our CM4D Classic. So this required a CM4D Web before, but it was disconnected from the functionality to manage a document, and now it's still in CM4D Web, but now managing a document and managing reports is actually in one place. That started already in version 24, but was not complete, and now it has the same functionality as you have in CM4D Web, so you can maintain it from here if you don't use CM4D Web. And we have smaller changes. The results database is optional. Borders on sheets is a small one. And on interactive, we can now display only nodes with data and navigation screen. That is an optional setting. But let's go directly into the product. So this is the Q1000, our standard demo part, with all of its features. So the Hoops engine can, of course, rotate, pane, zoom in and out. In addition to the tripod, now you have this navigation cube, which always move you back to zoom max and is doing the orientation. That allows you to set already an initial orientation easily that can be modified afterwards. So another part here are the cutting planes, which allows you to cut out certain parts. We can change, of course, the side, show or not show the cutting planes, like we do here, and reset everything, of course. Another thing in the base viewer is the possibility to show with and without lines. I have to scroll in a bit. Now you should be able to see the lines. Go to a wireframe to go to X-ray mode. That is semi-transparent. But you can also set the transparency for the complete view. So see here now, transparent through the part at the feature markers. So we have here the different colors, or actually you can choose any color you want here from let's go a bit. Oh, it's a pretty dark. Don't blame me for the colors itself that I pick now. I'm pretty much colorblind. So, but we have other people looking into the colors, luckily. Okay, so depending on your model, you might want to choose different colors for the feature markers in the different states, just to have them more visible. So on the feature markers, the colors also show, as I said, what type of feature marker it is. So I see here this as this is distance, 3D distance, while this distance here has no nominal set. And the cause for that is that the SIFT rules are simply taking this out. You are all familiar with this concept. So if I wait, that was the wrong one. And this. Have to check that. Well, yeah, the data is wrong. Okay, so you can use the SIFT rules and use them, for example, for the X, Y, Z. If I take all out and I see it's just the sphere. If I add the X back, yeah, it's a single disk. So the feature markers are actually giving you information about what is defined on your features as nominals, and there are also already the concepts to do the same for the limits, but that's not purely implemented yet, as it's getting a bit messy on the screen. So this concept needs to be cleaned up a bit. So yeah, borders can be shown as a smaller change. So, and showing this here on another instance, that the functionality to manage my reports, define the name, the depository, the text sources, the sheets that are actually in my managed report here from within CM4D Classic. Okay, so we are going to release a hotfix already pretty soon. This was to some degree expected if you do such a large change, like changing the complete graphics engine. We brought back the display support for the old Wiresmith files, as we learned that a couple of you still has a large set of them. 31 bugs are fixed by today, and we added the support for transparent JT files. However, you can't combine the transparency on an individual view and the JT file transparency in the same view, but transparent JT files are now properly displayed. What issues do we know? We know that a couple of VML files has performance issues. So some of these files results in a conversion into scenes with more than 70, 80, 90,000 individual components, even so you would expect 3 or 4. We are in discussion with Features of ATS here, and it might be that we have to build a separate importer for them to simplify them. For these files, but in any case, for new files, you definitely should use the native format as much as possible, as a lot of information is always lost when exporting here to VRML. We will add the missing feature types. And another thing that is missing is the spectrum functionality. One big thing we know already from 24 is that the results database, the processing for the results database is done client side. This is the old concept. This is currently moved to server side processing to resolve the problems that are on the client side. All of this is expected with version 25.1 in Q3 of this year. So the CM4D upload portal is the second part. This is a brand new module for CM4D, which is an add-on, so it's not part of the normal modules. The goal is to have a secure upload of data into CM4D, into CM4D Datasmith. So it is a portal towards CM4D Datasmith batch. We can define portal projects, check, define access control, validate the format before uploading. We have implemented an interface to run a virus scanner, but it uses in the end for the actual import Datasmith batch in the background. The front end, so the actual portal is already a microservice architecture, so you will see more movement of CM4D into that direction, primarily for all the server functionality. So so this is okay. Let's go on. This is how the portal looks for a vendor who has only certain projects available. So files can be picked. And they are directly validated in the background. So it's possible to view, optional but possible, to view and check the data before uploading, and screens you actually know from pretty much from Datasmith, but with additional filtering options if you want to check certain one. Then the file can be submitted. Oh, that was fast. Datasmith batch picks it up, and any vendor can see here if the files has been properly properly processed, and which files has been uploaded. Also possible to get the file back that I've uploaded it, to resubmit if needed, and also to export this list as a record what I have actually uploaded here. One benefit on top of a normal file drop or an FTP, pure FTP solution, is the check of the format. This check depends, you see here, that I can't upload the component files here if I set up my data mistranslate in a way that it is doing a validation. But such a portal also always has the risk that people might just want to upload things that shouldn't be uploaded. I have here, for example, an image file, and if I try to upload this, then the file type shows that the file type is not supported. This is not only by the file type, by the extension, but by checking actually content of the file. So if I change this to an XML file, I typically would be able to upload it, but even then it figures out that the file type is not supported. And you can all of this is configurable. So oops, have to reload. Okay, here we go. All of this is configurable, so you can specify a file and extensions, but also if it should be a text, an Excel, both, or any file or file type. We can configure virus scanning. This is actually configured, but this is something I can't demonstrate because my own virus scanner is always interfering. As an engineer of your company, for example, you can, or let's put it like this, you can also set up the system in a way that certain people have access to all or many of the projects. And while a typical vendor can only see his own file, an engineer can also be set up in a way that he can see all of the uploads. So even if multiple vendors would load files for Lego Man, then this engineer can see his own in this case, and those that are coming from vendor A or any other. So the complete test demo system here is running on Azure in a microservice architecture. And the configuration is part of the configuration manager, which will be the way for us to go in the future. So we are moving step by step the pure configuration parts, like Site Manager, into this general configuration structure. So you see here also that if a project is suspended, that is reflected as well, and it is also reflected if, for example, latest dispatch is down. So the user has the possibility to react or contact the administrator to check why things don't work. So what is next? The very next step definitely will be definitely version 25 with missing feature marker types. Now this is wrong. This is one of the bugs that is already resolved in the hotfix with an improved import, with the server-based results processing, so functionality that is definitely needed. But it also allows us now to start to do actually implement point cloud support, the microservice support for data smiths, scheduler, event smiths, and results processing. A new navigation tree in CM4D Interactive is clearly needed, but that is actually a complete rewrite. We know that we need improved SPC algorithms, for example, to support the Nelson rules, and in an improved alignment. We do have a couple of extensions like jogging functionality that are on the roadmap now to add new functionality now that we have this large step to a version 25. And for those who don't know it, CM4D roadmap at atsglobal.com is our public roadmap, and feedback, feature requests could be posted here, and we have a couple of votes, and we reshuffle the order of what we're doing based on the votes the different roadmap items get. Even so, there are a couple of roadmaps that simply has to be done before others. So it's not always in that order. Okay, so my planning was to be rough, to have 10-15 minutes for questions. We have those. So I would ask Tom now to check what questions we have.
Okay, well, you've just answered one of them that came up, which was what's the best way to make suggestions for new features?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got that in there.
That is actually here. We are at the moment you will get them in feedback from the technical team. Most cases it will be the technical writer Kelly contacting you to get more information. Before the feedback is defined in a way that it actually can go to the roadmap. Yeah, the roadmap, you also have all of the new features as we launch it. They are also on the, of course, on the help file, atshelp.com, but also here. And beside roadmap items, there are also ideas. Ideas are coming from different customers, but we haven't made a commitment so far to move them into the roadmap. So feedback typically ends up as an idea, and then the idea is later on moved into the roadmap.
Okay, next question. When do you hope to have a version 25.1 out?
In Q3 this year.
Okay,
there are a couple of things like the server-based processing of the results database, which is needed for larger installations to have a stable situation. That simply trigger a complete full retest. So, and we need to add the time for the retest, and so that's why it's not possible to do that earlier.
Okay, I've just got one more question, just a reminder to everyone that if you do have a question, you can enter it in the control panel, this webinar. And last question is the upload portal only available with version 25?
It works. It actually works from version 23 upwards. We market it together with version 25 as an add-on, but you can install it with an older Datasmith batch, not before version 23, because we need this validation check is already using a new microservice for the parsing of the results file with the Datasmith translator. So even so, the actual import is the current Datasmith batch. This previewing and the validation part is already a new microservice, and later on we will also do the import, the upload into the database that way. And this is based on the Unicode version of Datasmith. As you know, that was a major change after 21 to go from non-Unicode to Unicode. And this works only with the Unicode version. That's why we have this limitation. But yes, it works with 23. But in the end, you will run more and more into problems with the graphic cards, which can't be resolved for 23 and 24. So sooner or later, an update is simply on order.
Okay, and I've just had one more in. What's the planning to implement the align module?
After 25.1. Yes, we actually have 3 large areas where we still have to put the final order in. The improved alignment, the improved SPC rules, and the point cloud implementation. We will do that a bit more in parallel, but yeah, the alignment is clearly on the pretty much on the top of the list. But in the end, it depends also on how many votes will come in.
Okay.
So, but in general, I expect 2 releases per year. So roughly spring next year. I'm not sure if it will go into 25.1, but we definitely will not delay it for that. But when we have the functionality ready, we will release that. We will not wait as much as CM4D used to do.
All right, and that's the end of the questions.
Okay, so So then, thank you very much for attending the webinar, for contributing the time, and yeah, if you have any questions after this webinar, just either use the feedback, the roadmap, use the support or the current support structure. That helps to that this feedback is actually properly channeled, properly documented, and yeah, and we're happy to answer your questions, of course, and to support you in your upgrade processes. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then I guess, Tom, that brings us to the end of the webinar.
It does, right on schedule. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.